Welcome to Haunt Weekly. Haunt Weekly, episode 491. Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the on-attract entertainment community. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And we return to you this week, still trying to figure out what the hell day we're releasing. So yeah, just assume for the next little bit, it'll be one day, once a week. Who knows what day? It's a mystery, Shaggy. But on that note, please do check out more Haunt Weekly. We're at hauntweekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, youtube.com/hauntweekly, and wherever you get your podcasts from. So this week, we come to you to ask a question. The week of July 4th in these United States. It is still technically the week of, I believe. Yeah, we got like 2 more days. Still the week of.
All right.
There. Shut up. Work with me. We're asking the most American of questions. Why are haunts so bloody American? And I say that with a British euphemism, and I have no idea why. Just to completely shoot my point right in the foot. But yes, indeed, we're doing that and a lot more. Right, so let's see. Work we did for the haunt.
We bought our first skelly.
And other haunt-related acquisitions. At Home has their stuff out. And you made 2 trips.
Yeah.
You went once with our friend.
Yes.
And did not take me. And that's okay. You're allowed to do things without me.
You were invited.
I was invited. I didn't want to go. I admit it. I was playing a mediocre video game. Which is the best way I can describe it at this particular juncture.
But I saw something, and it was a black skull planter that I'm like, I need that, but I don't know if I want to spend that money on it. So then I slept on it and woke up and said, yep, I need that. Well,
and here's the funny thing. I used to joke I go with you on these trips so I can be the person to go, do you really need it?
Uh-huh.
And, check the spending and the buying and whatever. And the truth of the matter is, we went back. I went back with you the next day, and you spent way more with me.
Yeah.
You spent 3 times more when I was there than when I was not.
Yeah.
And both to be fair, it also we bought something that your friend you took with one of our haunt actors too. Or
yes.
Trick-or-treat peoples. Also wanted after the fact, so...
Yes, she saw it, she decided she wanted it, and then she decided she couldn't afford it, and then she needed it.
Kind of exactly what happened with the planter.
Yeah, but the planter is going to be a skull with carnivorous plants in it. I'm making a bog.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. It will be cool. Genuinely. But yes, we did that. We did some haunt acquisitions. And we've been doing other actor contact. So this counts as actor contact and actor management for us. And we're doing other actor contact as well. So we've got a lot of things going on. But right now we're in this heat dome. So actual work is not looking likely for a minute.
Well, we will see.
We will see. We have things we want and need to do, but it is difficult right now. But on that note, every week we ask a question a week. Last week we asked you if you ever left a haunt, why did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And y'all had some stories.
Tim Fowler said, I left Six Flags due to the lack of flexibility in the schedule. They had me showing up at 5:30 for 8 opening. Costume was a robe and a mask, no makeup, which kind of sucks. I ended up sitting around for 2 hours, asked if I could come in a little bit later because, just
logic.
The basic. Yeah. And they said no, so we quit.
Yeah, this is stupid for 2 reasons. One, for Six Flags, not Tim.
Yeah.
For Six Flags, I should clarify. This is stupid for them for 2 reasons. One, they are paying you 2 hours to sit on your ass and do nothing.
Yep.
The other reason, and this is just a universal truth of haunted attractions everywhere. I don't care how many actors you have. I don't care how big your makeup, costume, prep space is. There is never enough room in that space.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a fucking airplane hangar and 4 actors, and somehow they would get in each other's way trying to do costume and makeup.
Mm-hmm.
I do not know how that works, but it is a universal truth of every haunt I've been involved with in any way. So, yeah, they're also having you get in other motherfuckers' ways that have, I don't know, actual costumes to put on. So it's dumb both directions, and that just that's frustrating to me. That breaks my heart because they could save money and get you out of the fucking way, is what I heard.
Mm-hmm.
And you offered, and they said no. I got nothing. All right, Kevin Hopkins and me and a buddy left a local established haunt after a few years as 2 of the 3 creative and build directors when I realized they had zero interest in developing and growing the haunt. They had plenty of ticket sales, and that's all that mattered, even though there was much more potential to transform it into a great show. That, along with the staffing situation being a bit shady and unreliable, we decided to do our own thing and are going into year 7.
Congrats on getting out.
Hey, congrats on
Doing
getting out, going to year 7. And this is like one of those things we've seen where like the people who view haunting solely as a business and view it solely as an art really struggle to work together.
Yeah, they do.
I don't think
one.
Yeah, I don't think either side in this is bad
No.
necessarily, because there is something to be said for steady ticket sales and having a good enough show
Yeah.
and making it a reliable business. There is definitely something to be said for that. But there's also something to be said for, hey, we can improve, we can do this, we can do that, and making it grow and change and evolve. And those two things just aren't compatible sometimes.
It's not. And, it's also making people feel valued.
Yeah.
It adds a lot of value if your bosses listen to you and your ideas.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
good for
and
you
is
on
willing
getting
to
out of
invest in the vision, so to speak.
Victor Ruella says, it was a charity haunt. They did not save any money for the next year's build. A lot of people that did really want to listen to an outsider's ideas, and above all, a lot of safety issues.
Yeah, you could have stopped at safety issues. You didn't need any other reason. Everything else is just cherries. I would not stay at a haunt with serious safety issues. I mean, almost all haunts at least have some safety issues. It's just kind of a part of the build. But there are haunts that take those issues seriously and try to resolve them. And there are haunts that do not. Like a haunt we worked at, they had accidentally put nails into an actor area.
Yeah.
That ended up... Now, that was an accidental oversight on their part.
Yes.
It's not that they built sloppy. It's not that they had any issues. It was just totally they misfired some nails and it went into an actor's area at a very unfortunate location.
Yeah.
When notified, they fixed that shit immediately on the spot in front of the actor it impacted.
Yeah.
That's the attitude you want to see. All right. Jerry Ferraccio says, as a co-worker, co-equal to all the other volunteer designers in Haunt, I left and took makeup supplies which were mine. When I spent hours on the most popular room in the Haunt, only to come back and find that a couple other haunters had gutted my room because they were quote-unquote bored with it. I pointed the fact that they saw it multiple times per night, but our visitors didn't. It was an elaborate spider drop-down in which the spiders dropped from the ceiling at random intervals through a complex pulley system. After having my hard work and ingenuity shown disrespect, I bailed. Yeah, that is something you have to think about.
And they tried to get him back for 5 more years. But yeah, that's totally true, is that, you working in a haunt are going to see it multiple times.
And that is one of the things that we had to learn. Because we would get frustrated with, because you have to find that balance.
Yeah.
Because we would get told, when we very first started, we redid everything every year.
Yeah.
Tore it down to the studs, rebuild every year.
We were insane.
It fucking nearly killed us. And so we said, okay, maybe these people come by 2 to 3 times in a year. Maybe we can keep the walls and just redecorate.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did that. And then we ended up redecorating everything, which was a lot less work, mercifully.
Yes, that's why we talk about it so much. It's because we've done the whole rebuild from the ground up and try new things and, just redecorating, even with changing the light.
Yeah, and what we ended up doing was we made a rule. At first, it was like we change it every other year,
Mm-hmm.
but even that was not necessary.
No.
We started changing it because, and that's the other problem is, we've optimized so heavily now.
Yeah.
I don't know what we can do.
There's only one other change that I think that we could do, and that would take a lot of work, and it's not happening this year.
No, it's not happening. Well, we knew it wasn't happening this year. This is
Yeah.
only the second year with this layout.
Yeah.
'Cause we did the full gut and rebuild or the mostly gut and rebuild last
Yeah.
year. That one ended up only being like a 70% gut and rebuild.
Mm.
But yeah, I get that. Anyways,
All right. Farrell Savage said safety issues, OSHA violations. Didn't back up security when it was needed, sexual harassment, stole my build book, and claimed the designs were theirs.
were you at Field of Screams? No, it isn't. We know Farrell, they're an actor for us. I think I know who this is. I ain't saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did not, and so I will not.
Yeah, and it was not.
And Pete Blackwell says, the season ended. And then I came back for 12 more years. Thanks, Pete. Always nice to have the levity of Pete Blackwell.
Mm-hmm.
This week's question of the week. How can we grow haunting globally? I mean, because as we're going to talk about, haunting is still, this type of haunting is still very much a thing in the United States. How do we make it more international? Let us know. HauntWeekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, YouTube.com/HauntWeekly, and wherever you get your podcast from. All right. So the topic this week is going to get some controversy. Because I wrote the notes, but we're asking,
Mm-hmm.
why are haunts so American? But to answer that, we have to, understand, we have to ask ourselves, what is a haunted house?
Yeah, just get the basics down.
Yeah. And B, we have to be very clear that fear-based amusement attractions
Mm-hmm.
are everywhere. That is not particularly unique to any country.
Yeah.
You could argue, for example, that a roller coaster or a fun house is a fear-based attraction, and in many ways, they are. And in fact, a lot of fun houses cross that line into being maybe a haunted house, maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't write all the rules.
Yeah, and I think that the dark rides, even the traveling ones, do constitute more of a haunted attraction.
Yeah.
But it's still not
Quite what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because, we love our dark rides. This is not a knock.
No.
But a dark ride and a haunted house, to me, are two fundamentally different things.
Is a hayride just a dark ride that's outside?
I think the difference is the actors.
Yeah.
Because
Because you can interact more.
Yeah, but then again, a dark ride with actors.
Yeah.
Okay, we admit it. This shit is complicated and we don't have the answers. All right, look, I looked up the Wikipedia definition of haunted house. It didn't fucking help, man. It just made things worse. So we're trying to work with a very small niche within what could be considered a haunted house for the purpose of this.
Yeah.
It's a walk-through or guided. It's a walk-through attraction that is either guided or self-guided. If you got any of those JC style guided haunted houses with scenes floating out there, we're counting you. All 5 of you.
Mm-hmm.
They're still out there. Purpose built, even if it's temporary, meaning this is what it's meant to do. Features live actors, and I do think the live actor bit is important for this conversation.
Yes, and those live actors are going to attempt to scare the customers.
And they are going to be aided with theming and acting and lighting and special
Atmosphere
effects.
of all types.
And it's going to be horror-based.
Yeah.
Now, what is horror-based? I don't fucking know. That's a whole separate conversation. Because some people, you go into the clown haunt, and, and people are, if you got chlorophobia.
Well, I don't know. I was actually just thinking about like the giant dolls in Squid Game.
Yeah.
Like those things are creepy.
Oh, yeah. No, those are very unsettling. I will agree with that.
Yeah. If you had a haunt that was nothing but like sunshine and rainbows, but there's just something off, like so a different type of horror.
Yeah, but then again, what is horror? There are so many types of horror.
Yeah, we're not getting into that one. We've already got enough that we've bitten off.
We've already taken on way too much with this topic. Is one of the reasons we're late, or whatever late is. I don't even know. But yes,
we're not late because it's still the week.
Yes, but anyways, this is a type of attraction that, though it has been getting more attention outside of North America, has been really struggling to find its footing. Now, I do want to say, I know we have an abnormally high number of Canadian listeners.
Mm-hmm.
We hear you. We see you. We know that you exist. But we still want to ask the question, why did the haunt industry start in America? And other than a few notable beachheads and the jumps across the northern border, has it really struggled to find much success outside of the United States? And the first answer to that question is because it's a fucking lie. I am lying to you. Haunted attractions did not actually start in the United States. The very first one was known as Orton and Spooner's Ghost House in Liphook, England, which that is like the most British sentence ever said. Orton and Spooner Ghost House in Liphook, England.
Yes, and it started in 1915.
Yes, and you can actually, it said, was totally powered by steam. It was a steam-powered haunt, which, if you're looking for a band name, don't use that one. It's too close to Steam-Powered Giraffe. Yeah. But it's still cool. But you can actually still see it at the Honeycomb Steam Collection, so that's kind of cool. If we ever get in the area, we'll have to go check it out.
Definitely. That is exactly what I thought whenever I read that note.
But other haunt-adjacent attractions, like wax museums, which were famous for their horror rooms, also were everywhere, started in Europe. They were also popular in the U.S., but they were primarily launched in the continent of Europe. But still, when we look around in 2025, haunting, as we know it and talk about it, is still predominantly American.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Well, we've got a bunch of reasons. We got 7 plus maybe some bonus reasons as we go. And the first, the obvious,
Halloween.
It all comes down to Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah, and this one's difficult to ignore.
Yeah.
I mean, we...
In the United States, we tie haunted attractions to Halloween. It's all done as part of Halloween season.
It is. And now, there are some big-name year-round haunted houses that are just getting started this year. So this may change. This episode may be moot in a few years. But we will see.
This part of it especially. Yeah. But yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But other countries do celebrate fall festival seasons.
Yeah, if you take Halloween back to like its super roots of being a fall harvest festival, which is where all of this seems to come from, you know. You got, like Samhain in Celtic and Gaelic tradition. Mexico's Day of the Dead in certain regions of Mexico. All Saints Day in anywhere that's Catholic.
Yeah.
Which makes it very interesting in New Orleans sometimes.
It does. Well, and I think we did a history of Halloween, which talked about how it got started here.
Yeah.
It was basically throw parties and do Halloween-related stuff. Some of it's still tradition today.
Yeah.
To calm the hooligans hitting the streets. No.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, in the United States, there's this very bizarre tradition of counter-programming Catholic holidays. Because Mardi Gras is a counter-program to Ash Wednesday.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to do all our partying and drinking and then go hungover for the Ash Wednesday celebrations.
Yeah, but there was... I don't know. There was issues with vandalism and stuff done by teens.
And
and they wanted to stop that, so they started
hosting parties and events and
giving people things to do.
Yeah, which is so practical. You feel like we're too stupid of a country to figure that out today.
Okay, so that was back then.
Yeah.
When they were still figuring things out.
Yeah, they figured it out. That's the thing. They were figuring things out. We've stopped figuring. We just gave up on the figuring. But yeah, these are all connected. Like they have some same origins, but they're not the same. But basically, Halloween is unique in that it's a fall festival holiday that is meant to be frivolous. It's meant to celebrate the spooky. It's meant to be about fun and candy and partying and and all those wonderful things. It's a celebrated day largely outside of the wackos who hate it.
Well, yeah, because in the U.S. it is not tied to religion. Not really.
Right.
And then, you've got...
And even though it celebrates horror and death and spooky things, it's not actually really about death.
No.
It's about having fun, being scared, and enjoying the holiday. But the thing is, like, Halloween just isn't a thing outside the United States and parts of Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to England and tried to talk to people about Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
They had no idea what we were on about.
Nope.
It looks like we had turds hanging out of our mouths. I mean, they knew it from like American media, so they knew it through proxy. But none of them had ever trick or treated.
And this was probably 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15ish years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so it may have changed and
it may have changed, but yeah,
not to the extent that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, and in places where it has sort of come up, they've oftentimes pushed back against it. Japan, as we talked about previously, actively tried to ban it. Several cities in Japan because of that hooliganism we're back at.
Yeah.
Hooligans.
Yeah, rowdy people taking to trains, I think, was
it was the subway
damage. Yeah, because they got drunk.
Yeah, they got drunk and they were partying and riding the train and in costume.
Yeah, and causing trouble. And the solution for that they came up with was to stop selling alcohol the day before, but they announced it.
Yeah. Which that's never a good move. But yeah, so...
But I'm pretty sure there would have been riots if they hadn't announced it and people had gone to get their alcohol and not able to get it. I think that would have been way worse.
You're not wrong. But Halloween is the second most popular decoration holiday in the United States, right behind Christmas.
Yep.
It's a huge deal here, and it just isn't elsewhere. So I think that is probably the primary number one reason, but it doesn't mean we're not going to give other reasons. Mm-hmm. Number two, the traditional haunted house business system or structure really doesn't make any sense.
No.
Because right now, in the United States, you can get a ticket to a haunted house for about $25 or so, we'll say, and go see a haunt filled with dozens of actors, set up at great expense and care with advanced lighting, effects, and stuff, and thousands of dollars put into that. And it's just insane. It's not a real business model.
No.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
No, especially... So there are very few haunts that are able to pull it off and make their money like the owners make their money.
Yeah, like full-time.
Full-time.
Yeah. Off
of the haunt alone.
Yeah. And that's because this business model is honestly batshit insane. And we just need to accept that. If you go to most year-round haunts, you'll find that they go kind of the opposite route. They focus on their setup, but then only have one or two people working there.
Yeah.
They minimize the number of people actually working to scare you. In fact, everything about it is efficiency in creating that customer interaction. Like I'm remembering when Leonard Pickle talked about the haunt he did at Myrtle Beach, which is basically just a giant horseshoe where he would literally take the ticket, go inside, run up and down the center part of the horseshoe, scaring people.
Yeah.
And then come back and do the next ticket.
And that's basically what the kid in Galveston was doing, too, at the one we went to there.
Yeah, and also the Ripley's Believe It or Not haunt we went to in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And then similar. You basically get one or two very hardworking people, admittedly,
Mm-hmm.
running around like mad bastards trying to scare people in every room. And yeah, that's a much more sensible business model in that, yeah, now you're only paying for 1 or 2 employees rather than this veritable army of actors.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is that a lot of those don't change as much as ones that are only open during the October season.
Yeah, they typically target tourists who are only ever going to see it once.
Exactly. So talk about getting tired of the actors getting tired of seeing the same scenes every day.
Yeah.
Like, it broke me to have to look at our haunt for 3 years.
Yeah, when we were shut down because of the road and then COVID.
Yes. Because 3 years was too much to see the same shit.
Well, and it was funny because...
And we were the only ones seeing it.
Well, no, it was just funny because I remember when we were finally able to open, we were so sick of it, we just said, we're not doing the planned improvements. It's a functional haunt.
Yeah.
Let's just get through the season and we're ripping this shit out and doing something else.
That's what we did.
And that's exactly what we did. Oh, man. But yeah. But basically, since haunts are tied to Halloween, meaning there's that limited time period, you can compress the crowd. Like, for example, if you know 100,000 people are coming to your haunt, and you have them come over 20 nights, that's 5,000 people a night. You can pay a decent amount of people to scare them for just those nights, right? But if you spread them out over, we'll say, 100 nights, now you're down to 1,000 people per night. That's not a very viable business model with a large actor paying a lot of actors. And so, since most places don't know what Halloween is and you would need that year-round income, you're going to have to find ways to make haunts work with a lot fewer actors. Is basically what it comes down to. So yeah, the big crowds make it possible. And honestly, that's kind of cool. But it's also going to be a roadblock to expansion. Now, of course, there's always the exception that proves the rule. Spookers in New Zealand. Granted, they're open 2 nights per week, but that's still over 100 nights per year. And they seem to be doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So someone's got to come along and piss in my lemonade on this, but I'm happy that they did.
Yeah. All right.
Number 3.
Oh, the mouse. Disney.
Yeah.
The haunted attractions were around before Disney. The popularity of them really took off whenever Disney opened the Haunted Mansion, or Disneyland, in 1969.
Yeah.
And Not Scary Farm actually opened 4 years later.
Yeah.
And we see this uptake right around that time, including JC haunts.
Now, the obvious question is, was Disney seeing the trend and jumping on it? Or did Disney help create the trend? I think it's a little bit of both.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
I think because there had been haunted attractions before, as we said, in particular charity ones and smaller ones. But I mean, it's hard to overstate, the cultural importance of Disney in the United States of America.
Yeah.
It really and truly is, especially if you go from 2020 to 1920, that 100-year span there. Disney was so influential to American culture during that time. And one of the things that they really did was normalize the haunted attraction by bringing one as a cornerstone, ride at their flagship theme park.
Yeah. Family friendly.
And
everybody can come.
Yeah. And even though it's filled with ghosts and frights, it's obviously with that you don't have the actors outside of the ones who let you in and on the ride and all that. But everything is done through special effects. So much Pepper's Ghost.
Yeah. And if you want a really quick answer to the question of the week, this is it.
Yeah.
Because Disney's been expanding over the past decade or so. They've been opening up things.
Yeah, like Disneyland, Paris, Japan, etc. They've been really moving. So yeah.
And you know what else? I've been seeing more haunts open up around the world.
That's true.
So maybe Disney is expanding the haunt industry for us.
I don't know if Disney still has the cultural cachet that it had back in '69, especially in other countries. But but yeah, this type, but I mean, and honestly, you could say this not just about Disney, but by Universal and other big money property, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Who are doing these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, Disney normalized the haunted attraction through the Haunted Mansion, and I'm still pissed off that those bastards closed Alien Encounter, though. I'm still very cheesed off about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm never going to forgive Disney for being a little bitch about that and saying it was too scary. Of course it was too scary. That was the fucking point. Sorry.
Yeah, that was the claim. We all know why they really closed.
No, they wanted something with the Lilo and Stitch property, and that was just the easiest conversion.
Oh, I thought it was because of the problematic actor that was part of the scene.
Oh, yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was part of it.
And I threw such a temper tantrum, my watch just asked me if I fell. No, watch, I'm just pissed off about alien encounters.
Yes.
Put that in your database, Apple.
Yeah, even though we're not.
We're both seated quite firmly right now.
Yes, and we're not on camera. You are still very animated.
I don't know how else to be.
Exactly.
All right. Reason number 4, the idea of personal space and relative comfort with crowds.
Yeah.
This blew my mind when I looked this up. I really thought this would go the other direction.
Mm-hmm.
I really did not. This was not what I expected. This is bizarre. But anyways, in the United States and Canada, we are mathematically more culturally comfortable with being close to strangers than most countries. I know. I thought it was the opposite too. Though the differences are minor, they have can have some pretty big impacts. In the United States, we are typically comfortable with a stranger being about 90 centimeters away. That's, we'll say, 3 feet. It's roughly 3-ish feet. In Hungary, that number jumps to 125. So you're getting damn near 4 feet.
Yeah.
Now, that may not seem like a huge amount, and it isn't, but it speaks to the comfort in general of being in crowds and in tight situations with people you don't know. Which, guess what? That sounds like a haunted house to me.
Yeah, it does.
You're going to be assholes and elbows with people you've never met before. And by that, I mean both the other customers and the actors. Because one of the things that we always say, we advise actors to do is invade the personal space. Which, by the way, I'm going to carry around a 90-centimeter ruler every time I go through a haunt now. Get in within this, assholes. Come on, do it.
You are not.
No, I will not.
But we could train ourselves to know what that is.
Yeah, just like we train ourselves to know 3 feet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found this really interesting that other countries, even though the reputation of the United States is that we don't like having people close, it's really quite the opposite when the studies are done. And it blew my mind to find this one out. But yeah, it does speak to why Americans might be a little more willing to get inside a haunted attraction, not to mention the part where they're standing in line before it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I thought that one was really, really interesting.
It is, and it's not an angle on it that I had considered.
No,
until I saw it in here.
And I'd always heard people say the opposite, that foreigners have no concept, quote unquote, foreigner the band, has no concept of personal space, and like, oh, I went to France and people were all up in my business. No, mathematically, the French want more space than we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I had always kind of gotten that, so.
Yeah, we're just more, I mean, it's kind of wild because this
is why they had to teach us stranger danger, Jonathan.
Because we were willing to get within arm's reach like idiots.
Yes.
Well, and it's weird because they do the studies about the difference between a close friend or a relationship partner,
yeah,
a colleague, someone you know, and a perfect stranger. And it's like, everyone is like really cool with their close relationships being close.
Yeah.
Like that, the difference is almost non-existent, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's like, right up on.
Yeah.
Colleague, you get a bit more different. Then with strangers, it's like, whoomp. It's like, whoa, okay, we have disagreements on this.
Yeah.
So like, casual friends and intimate friends, everybody wants fairly close, but the rest of the world is undecided on how far away strangers should be. And apparently in the United States, we've decided we're pretty cool with them being close. I struggle to believe that, but I checked 3 different studies. And the numbers I gave were more or less an average. But still, I mean, yeah, I checked 3 different studies to confirm this because I thought it had to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I was blown away by this one. I was going to use this as a point against, as like a counterpoint, and then I just got. Next item.
Right. Emotional comfort.
Yay!
Yeah, this is another weird
I
one to
did
get
not.
into.
This is another one I did not believe initially.
Yeah. So a 2012 study said that the United States and Canada are literally the most emotional countries in the world.
Uno and dos. 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
We're comfortable with our emotions and more comfortable expressing them.
Including and especially in public.
Yeah.
I
could say
I
that.
can
could
see
that.
when I think
yeah.
about it, it does make a lot more sense.
I've seen lots of fights and arguments and
Yeah,
on the other side, happiness and stuff too. But
yeah, but basically, in like Europe and Asia, people tend to be more reserved. They don't like being outwardly emotional. And so the idea of being in an environment that is going to try to make them scream in fear makes them want to scream in fear.
yeah.
Just not in front of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically other countries, as you travel, especially, like I said, Europe, especially Asia, Africa, and parts of like Eastern Europe, very reserved, very uncomfortable with displays of emotion, uncomfortable with being emotional.
Yeah. And like obviously there are some people in the US and Canada who don't fit the mold of being comfortable.
Oh yeah, this is all just an average, but
yeah.
and an average that hides the breadth of all these societies.
Yeah, but it is a cultural norm. I think that we see it like magnified being in a city that is so cool with drunks being in public because drunks do not know how to keep their emotions inside or mostly anything else
including bodily fluids of all various types and viscosities.
Exactly.
but yeah people, but if you're in a place that is not culturally comfortable with being seen screaming in fear or being afraid or having any kind of strong emotional response, a haunted house is not going to have a lot of appeal. So interesting.
It is.
Number 6, as we get down to our last few, the drinking age. I had not thought about this one until I was working on this. In the United States, the drinking age is 21, and we are one of the very, very few countries that is true.
Yeah.
In most countries, it is either 19 or 18, and some skew even younger. But then, obviously, we're only listing places where alcohol is legal. I'm not counting my country.
Well, I do remember a time that it was legal in Louisiana at 18.
Yeah.
Like, so it's changed in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Where it's gone 21 across the board.
Well, yeah, because, and I remember that, it was because Louisiana held out longer than everyone else.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Yeah, because we're Louisiana. But Louisiana held on everyone else, and it was until they threatened to take away, I think, highway funding or something.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Louisiana finally closed the loopholes and everything. But yeah, the rest of the world, like I said, it's 19 or younger, and that may not seem like a huge deal, but if you're a U.S. haunt, that means you're not, legally at least, competing against bars and pubs for much of our target audience.
Yeah.
I mean, those 19, 20, and, and 18, 19, 20-year-olds that aren't legal to drink right now, they can't just, well, theoretically, I'm not saying they don't.
Yeah.
Many of them obviously do, but they can't legally rock up to a pub and get a drink and hang out with their friends playing pool or whatever. So they might choose to go to a haunted house or something instead. Just to have something legal to do with their friends. And that was very interesting because, like I said, when the haunt industry targets teens to early 20s, this means a core part of the audience can't drink here that would be able to drink in other countries. And also in the United States, there's a lot of wonkiness, and it varies from state to state and even county to county, whether minors are allowed in bars.
Yeah.
In Louisiana, we have the stupidest rules in history about this.
Yeah.
Because minors are allowed in bars as long as there isn't video poker machines accessible to them.
Yeah. If they can't see the blinking lights, they're fine.
Ooh, money, Nintendo.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's supposed to work.
Yeah, but in the U.S., it's also, if you think about it, you stop trick-or-treating probably around 10, 11, something like that, which is around the time people start thinking about going to haunted houses.
Yeah.
And start wanting to be scared because they're transitioning out of being a kid that goes trick-or-treating into the young adult phase of Halloween, if they're still into Halloween.
Yeah.
Which is going to get scared. And then you go to the adult parties.
Yeah.
Afterwards, after you hit 21.
Yeah, normal people.
Yeah.
None of you. Don't worry, none of this applies to you. Yeah, like you said, they start out, Halloween is first, it's probably actually not even trick-or-treating. When you're super young, you might be hanging out with mom at home, and too young to, like, you're a toddler or whatever.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't remember this either.
I don't know what they do now, especially.
But then you get into the trick-or-treat, God help us, trunk-or-treat phase.
Well, and that was something that changed too, because I remember having to go trick-or-treating at the fucking mall.
Forgot about trick-or-treating at the mall.
Yeah.
Scare the preppies at the Gap. If you know that reference, you're our new friend. But no, but yeah, you're right. And then these transition, and like, there's nothing there really, other than haunted houses, obviously. There's not much there between when you age out of trick-or-treating and when you're ready to go to bars and frat parties and adult Halloween parties. And in the United States, that latter phase starts later, at least legally.
Exactly.
So there's a bigger window there for haunts to kind of capitalize on.
Exactly.
Okay. Number 7, our last potential reason for the day. I'm sure there are many, many others we didn't cover, but
yeah.
But this is another one we can back up with research.
Yeah. In 2009, a study said that the U.S. has one of the largest friend group sizes on average.
I called bullshit on this one, too.
Okay, that's because we weren't popular.
Oh, we never had a friend group. That's the...
Exactly. Like, you're going to have... you're going to be able to go and visit more friends, possibly, soon, in another state.
Another state and city, yeah.
Yeah, than you are here.
Yeah, but according to the study, the average U.S. per citizen has 11 friends.
Yeah.
Compare that to Hungary, where the number is 5.
Mm-hmm. So if you're all friends and you want to do something, you're too old to trick-or-treat and you're not old enough to drink, what you gonna do?
Yeah. And even if you are old enough to drink, this is a situation where, going to a haunted house is a group activity.
Yeah. And also, working in a haunted house can also be a group activity.
Yeah. And so, to participate in a group activity, you need, checks notes, a group.
Yep.
And in the United States, there's just bigger groups. I was shocked to find this. I really thought that we were going to have a tiny friend group.
So I wonder if haunts could capitalize this by doing friend promotions. Like, I know we've talked about bring a friend promotions before, but friend group promotions where everybody gets a little bit off. Because if you're getting 11 people instead of 1 or 2, that seems like a good thing.
Well, yeah, and one of the things about, with haunts, it's always been interesting because, for 1 through 10 people, everyone has to pay individually.
Yeah.
But at 10, that's when the group race starts. Well, like you said, what if I want to bring me and my 4 best friends?
Yeah.
What if I bring a group of 4?
Yeah, I think that there should be a family rate because groups of 4 would fit comfortably in that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the the zoo here and the aquarium, because we have to pay for those things. We're not St. Louis.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've often wondered if there should be an incentive, start your group rate at 5 people.
Yeah.
That way, if you got a foursome, well, if you just bring along that one extra person, they're functionally nearly free,
Yeah.
right? And that would be kind of cool, and that would encourage people to come that maybe wouldn't otherwise.
Exactly.
Because that's the one thing about those types of promotions is ideally you're reaching individuals who would not have come at full price or might not have been interested at all.
Yeah. And if you find those friend groups that are 4 or more, then you've also got an escape room team.
Yep. Well, I think that's everything. I mean, everything we're doing here. What other reasons do you think haunting has remained so resolutely American? And what can we do to spread haunting internationally?
Yeah.
Let us know at hauntweekly.com, hauntweekly on Facebook, and youtube.com/hauntweekly. Until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we'll see you all next week.